So the EU just dropped this massive new rulebook for AI, and today we are zooming in on one of the most important parts, Article 49, all about registration. For this explainer, we're digging into a fantastic deep dive commentary developed under the scientific oversight of Professor Vihar Kiskinov. So let's get right into it.
Now, this might sound like just a bunch of legal jargon, but it's so much more than that. You should think of Article 49 as the absolute engine for transparency in the EU's entire AI strategy. It's the mechanism they've built to pull high-risk AI out of the shadows and into the open, creating a public record of what's out there and how it's being used.
So how are we going to break this all down? Well, we've got 5 key parts. First, we'll cover the core idea behind the new rulebook. Then, we'll look at how this idea evolved. After that, we'll get into the specifics. Who has to register what? We'll take a peek inside the EU's AI database. And finally, we'll ask the big question. Is this the new global blueprint for building trust in AI?
Okay, so let's start with the big picture. What's this rulebook really trying to do? Well, at its heart, Article 49 isn't about regulating every single piece of AI out there. No, it is laser-focused on managing the systems that could cause the most harm to people. Everything, and I mean everything, in this regulation really boils down to this one key idea, the high-risk AI system. The EU isn't trying to police every app on your phone. It's targeting the AI that could have a serious, real-world impact on our lives, our safety, and our fundamental rights. So what does that actually look like?
And believe me, the law gets super specific about what counts as high risk. We're talking about the AI that might decide if you get a loan or helps manage the power grid. It's the software that screens your job application, and it's the tools used by police and border control. You see, these are not trivial things. They have huge consequences, and that's exactly why they're the focus of this new registration rule.
But you know, a rule this important doesn't just pop into existence overnight. It went on a fascinating journey, starting out as a really simple idea and slowly evolving into the much more complex framework that we have today.
You can literally see the back and forth of the whole process right here. It kicked off in 2021 with a straightforward idea. Just make the companies creating high-risk AI register their stuff. But by mid-2022, a really important question came up. What about the people using the AI? And that single question changed everything. It brought in the idea of deployer responsibility, and by the time we got to the final compromise, the whole thing had gotten a lot bigger. This really shows you the before and after in a nutshell. The first idea was simple. The company that makes the AI is responsible. Period. But the final version, it's much smarter. It gets that a tool is only as risky as how you use it. So now the responsibility is shared, and the scope is way broader. It's not just about the tech itself, but about how public authorities are actually deploying it out in the real world.
All right, that's the history. So where did we end up? Let's get into the nitty-gritty of who has to register what under this brand new 3-tiered system.
Okay, so the final system has 3 main layers. First up, the obvious one. If you make a high-risk AI system, you have to register it before you sell it. Simple enough. Now here's where it gets really clever. If your system is technically in a high-risk category, but you argue it isn't actually risky, you can't just keep that to yourself. You still have to register and publicly make that claim. And third, the responsibility shifts. Public bodies like a city government have to register their specific use of that AI. And this is a really crucial distinction to make. The provider, the company that built it, registers this system. But a public authority like a police force has to register their specific use of that system. This is a fundamental shift. It creates accountability not just for the tool's creation, but for its actual day-to-day application.
So, you might be wondering, where does all this information actually live? Well, it all goes into the EU's AI database. This is the central hub that makes this whole transparency idea work.
The way they designed this database is actually pretty brilliant because it solves a classic puzzle. How do you get transparency without wrecking security? The answer is this 2-part structure. There's a public section for most high-risk systems, so researchers, journalists, and you can see what's being used. But for the really sensitive stuff, like law enforcement and border control, that info goes into a secure, non-public section that only authorized oversight bodies can access.
All right, let's zoom out and pull this all together. What are the big takeaways from Article 49, and what does it mean for the future of how we govern AI? So, when you boil it all down, Article 49 is doing 4 really big things. 1, it expands transparency, even covering those claims of not being high risk. 2, it creates shared responsibility between the makers and the users. 3, it strikes a smart balance between public openness and necessary security. And all of this is designed to do one thing: build a real foundation of public trust in AI that matters. And this really leaves us with the million-dollar question. The EU has drawn a clear line in the sand with this detailed blueprint for regulating AI through transparency. Is this the model that the rest of the world will adopt as the gold standard for building trust? Or will it end up being seen as a complex hurdle that just slows down innovation? That, right there, is the debate that is going to shape the future of AI for all of us.